You are Locked On Rockets Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Houston on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, the on-court play tonight was incredibly disappointing for the Houston Rockets for the second consecutive game on a night where, again, it looked like they had a chance to win the basketball game there as they came out in the second half blazing. But the storyline that is going to catch the fire of this game tonight is going to be what happened in the last 35, 40 seconds of the game with all the ejections and the fighting, scuffle, whatever you want to call it, there between the Rockets and the Heat. As, again, it kind of clouds the night of disappointment for a brief second for the Rockets in a loss. Hello and welcome tonight to the Locked On Rockets Postcast. I am your host, Michael Connor. If you're new to this show, thank you for stopping by, whether it's live or later on. We appreciate you guys. As always, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Have a New Year's resolution for yourself and for this show. Decide that you are going to share this show with 5 people that you know as a New Year's resolution. You do that, we might just take over the internet with our Rockets Postcast, our Texans, our Astros, and our Cougs here on this channel. So let's jump right into it tonight. Let's go first to what, again, is going to kind of take the headlines from this game tonight. There was clear frustration on the Rockets' part. Like, this is a team that a couple of nights ago, had a really disappointing loss against Minnesota. And tonight, the first half I thought was really disappointing in terms of play. If you listen to the TV broadcast, they do the interview with a assistant coach, right as they go into halftime. It was Royal Ivy tonight. And, he flat out called them out. He's like, we're not physical enough. That team shouldn't score 50 points on us in the first half. Because that Miami Heat team has been struggling. And they've got really, 2 legit offensive players. They're not a great team. They're not better than the Rockets based on what we've seen this season. And the Rockets just did not play a good first half. And then you get into that second half and you build up that lead. We'll talk a little bit about that here in a minute. And we're going to get into more detail on this start to the game that I thought was very disappointing. But all that kind of builds up. And then there is the 5-second violation for Fred VanVleet not getting the ball in. And the replay, there of it, it was tight. Fred was heated about it, thinking that he called the timeout. It was probably, I can't say that it was the right call or the wrong. I think it was just tight. I think it was right there on the number. And if it hits 5 seconds and he ain't called it, SOL, man. He gets heated. He gets tossed. So now the tensions are a little bit high. I thought it was a little quick to hit the eject button, ejection on Fred VanVleet there. I think more than anything, we'll see it probably in the talk about it later. He'll get a fine because he bumped into the official. There was contact made. Probably said a couple magic words. But that was, I think, the moment that built the tension. And I don't know what was said between Tyler Hero and Amen Thompson. It'll be interesting. I'll check Twitter, see if anybody posts any quotes out there from it or anything in terms of maybe what was said. Because, I think that Amen Thompson will probably get suspended for it. Right or wrong. I'm guessing something got said. And then there's the bumping into and then the locking up. And to be honest with you, I mean, look, this is as a basketball observer. It's not the first time I've watched Tyler Hero. He comes off as a punk. He does. He comes off as a guy that not man enough to chest it up. And you see, Ahmed Thompson's not messing around. He threw him to the floor. I'm interested to see what both sides say. That's what I really would like to hear. I want to hear, one side's going to claim something, the other side's going to claim the other. But I guess I think the thing that I'm going to walk away with is that it's more about this team, they're not going to be pushed around, even if they're playing poorly. And you better really watch out for them when they're ticked off with themselves, because clearly that was a basketball team tonight that was playing down the stretch. They were pissed off with how they were performing, as they should have been, right? They played like poop that entire fourth quarter. It was not good. And again, coming off of a game against Minnesota where they were not good. I just thought you saw the level of frustration really build. And if you were wondering about Amen Thompson at all, Amen Thompson is no punk. Amen Thompson is not a guy that you're going to want to mess with at any point in his NBA career. I have grown to be quickly he didn't have a great night offensively, and I didn't even get a lot of opportunities to, put up points, that played a ton of minutes like he always does. I'm a big Amen Thompson fan based off what we've seen. Part of me kind of enjoyed him chunking Tyler Hero to the ground. I can't lie. It's just, it's going to be interesting to see, and I still have not seen anything come out if they've spoken or not. It's pretty soon after the game. They're probably going to keep Amen away for a second, let him calm down before you go out there and, do anything about it. It looks like Tyler Hero's already taken to social media and posted a picture with Terry Rozier flipping the bird to the camera from the locker room after they got ejected tonight. His next visit to Houston probably won't be the most enjoyable. Is what I think. And he's yelling at the Rockets. You can see it in the video. Go home, bro. You lost. You lost. Now, the Rockets did lose. And the Rockets have had a losing streak now to Miami. It's 8 games in a row, 9 games in a row to Miami. It's crazy. But that next time that they visit Houston, which again won't happen this season, the Rockets will see them again. When is the next matchup between these two teams? The 21st of March down in Miami. I bet you the Rockets won't have the Miami hangover for that game. It'll be maybe the first time in the history of the NBA an NBA team goes to Miami and doesn't go out to party as soon as they get there. Rockets will be in Orlando on the 19th. And then in Miami on the 21st. You know what? They might go out on the 19th when they get there. Take the 20th to recuperate. But the 20th, the night before, but you know who won't be in his hotel? Amen Thompson. He'll be waiting for Tyler Hero. That is for sure. But a disappointing loss tonight for the Rockets. We got to get more into that. Really, to me, I think the first half kind of told the story of this game. Great coming out in the second half. I want to get into the details of that and why I'm disappointed with the way that this team has played in the last 2 games and why there's been more evidence of why people think that they should make trades. We'll talk about it here in just a brief second in the Locked On Rockets postcast. Today's episode is brought to you by Rocket RX. If you're ready to boost your confidence and take control in the bedroom, Rocket RX has the solution. Imagine feeling more prepared and performing at your best. Rocket RX makes it simple and stress-free. Rocket RX offers FDA-approved treatments for erectile dysfunction at a lower cost than branded alternatives. No more uncomfortable doctor's visits or pharmacy trips. Everything is delivered straight to your door in discreet, plain packaging. With Rocket RX, you'll get trusted care from a real U.S. clinical team. Complete a quick and 100% online consultation, and you could get your free prescription today. Visit Rocket RX to get started now. It only takes 2 minutes. Right now, our listeners can get 40% off your first order when you use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's rocketrx.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for 40% off your first offer. Terms and conditions apply. Rocket RX, better sex made simple. Locked on Rockets Postcast tonight after the 104-100 loss to the Miami Heat. I'm your host, Michael Connor. Thank you for stopping by and watching the show tonight. I see a lot of you guys out there in the comments talking about the Tyler Hero thing tonight. It's an interesting night. That is for sure. Appreciate you guys stopping by, but the Rockets are in disappointing form for the second consecutive game. This one, they didn't blow as bad and as late, but they did blow this game. By the way, if you're looking for this show in its audio form, go and search Locked on Rockets. Anywhere that you get your podcast, you'll get this show and the Locked on Rockets show for free. That's right, free. Jackson Gatlin hosts the daily show. That is the Locked on Rockets podcast. I host the Locked on Rockets Postcast, which is our post-game shows, and they are all available on that same channel. So, again, make sure you go and download it for free anywhere that you get your podcast. Appreciate you guys being here tonight. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well if you are new to this channel, as we're talking about the disappointing loss and the scuffle between the Rockets and the Miami Heat tonight out there at the Toyota Center, where the Rockets lose their second consecutive game. And it is only the second time this season that they have lost 2 games in a row. The other time came December 3rd and 5th when they were on the road playing Sacramento and the Golden State Warriors. And look, this to me is a disappointing start to this 5-game stretch at home. And you never want to lose games at home, but you played 2 teams that are playoff contenders in each of their conferences. I think you played 2 wounded ducks in Minnesota and Miami, and you've let them slip in those 2. You'll get Dallas in the next one on Wednesday, and Dallas is going to come in without Luka. Coming off of their fight the other night with Phoenix, they got some suspensions as well. They're not at full strength. That's another game that you feel like you probably should win. Then you got Boston, the defending champs, coming to town. That was going to be incredibly difficult. Then you have the new look Lakers coming to town next Sunday. And I say new look because they made a trade today to send out D'Angelo Russell for a couple of wing depth pieces for their team with the Brooklyn Nets. I forget who they picked up in the trade now off the top of my head. I saw it this morning. But tonight's story of this basketball game, I think, was number one, the biggest issue early on, I mentioned this earlier, I felt like they got pushed around early. I mentioned the Royale Ivy interview on the TV broadcast at halftime going in, and he flat out just basically called out Alperen Sengun and he not being physical enough. You kind of saw it. They brought Steven Adams in, and that was, if you're looking for a positive tonight, I really liked it. It's short stints. It's not a lot. I really liked the 12 minutes that they got out of Steven Adams tonight. I thought he was physical. I thought he looked like he was moving pretty well. He was great on the boards. He made some really good passes as well. He's not going to be a guy that scores much, but he's going to come in. You want to be a little bit of an enforcer, and you want him to grab rebounds. And tonight, I think that was the best that he's starting to look like he's getting his legs under him, which is good for this Rockets team. You need that extra big man depth. You know, they don't want to run in the world where they don't have him. But tonight they got pushed around, and Alpy, while he scored early, he scored a lot early. He was 7 for his first 14 points in the game. He didn't end up with a ton from there. He ended up with 18. And he went, just 1 for 6 the rest of the way in terms of field goals. But he ended up with 18 points, 18 rebounds. He did a good job rebounding. He got more physical in the second half. But I thought they just got kind of punked in the first half a little bit. And that wasn't like them. And they saw some different looks from Miami. And Eric Spoelstra is one of the best coaches in the league. Has been for a long time. Reason why he's kept that job forever. You know, they threw some things at the Rockets defensively that I don't think we've seen from a lot of teams so far this season. They fronted the Rockets. They fronted Alperen Şengün, down there in the post as much as they could. It made life difficult. And Miami's always had a reputation of being a good defensive team. That's one of the calling cards of Spoelstra and the culture that he's built on. I mean, look, he learned from Pat Riley. What do you expect? But I just think that they gave the Rockets a lot of different looks that we have not necessarily seen. And it made life difficult on the Rockets all night long. And then they came out in the second half, and they had a game plan. You could see it. Their offensive game plan was a lot better. Excuse me. Jalen Green went absolutely nuts. And they grabbed a lead. They grabbed the double-digit lead for the second consecutive game in the second half. They grab a double-digit lead against their opponent. Fourth quarter happened. It's like Miami flipped the script defensively again. Their effort went way up. And they shut the Rockets down. And the Rockets scored 18 points in the fourth quarter. And something we have talked about so much with this basketball team this season. And it's why, again, they get brought up constantly from people when it comes to the trade deadline. And will they be a team that goes out and gets a star? There has to be one available, of course. There's the guy that plays for Miami tonight that's been rumored a lot. I still don't see the fit. Not that I don't see the fit. I think with where they're at, I don't see the fit, and where he's at in his career being a 35-year-old. You don't give up assets for that guy. But you see the issue at the end of the game. Look what Miami did to them defensively. Miami forced the Rockets into iso ball. The Houston Rockets cannot play iso ball at all. They don't have anybody on this team that is good enough to be an iso player. They have guys that have elements. I've mentioned this before. They have guys that have elements of their game that can handle some iso ball. Jalen Green can play iso ball from the standpoint of getting to the rim and getting a layup. Jalen Green cannot play iso ball from the standpoint of dribble, find an open shot. Can't do it. And even if he does create an open shot, he's not going to hit it. He's not a good enough shooter. So you have that issue. You have Fred VanVleet out there who can't separate from anybody half the time. The Rockets legitimately tonight, at one point in that fourth quarter, were so bogged down offensively, they let Dylan Brooks iso That's a problem. And if we are talking about how far this team can actually go this season, it all gets back to that. When you get to the playoffs, teams are going to be, tying you down even more. Teams are going to be gunning for what you do best, whatever it is. And you're going to have so many moments in games in the playoffs where the ball just gets sticky, right? The movement gets sticky. And when that happens, you have to have somebody that you can put the rock into their hand and say, go take care of this for us. And I think tonight, we've seen it in other instances this season. Tonight, we saw it more than any other point of this season because I think specifically Miami targeted that. Miami said, if you know the history of Eric Spoelstra, he was a video room guy for Pat Riley all those years ago. But it's like they said, you know what? We're going to force them into ISO ball. Basically, put pressure on them out on the wing. Don't allow them to, throw the ball into their big guy in Alperen Şengün, and force the dribble. Because they're not going to create good shots. They're not. When this Rockets offense is moving their best, they're moving the ball left and right. They're doing all the little things, and they're creating open looks that way. They don't create the open looks by playing isolation ball. They're just not capable of that. It's unfortunately the cold, hard truth of this team. There's a lot of great things about this team. Defensively, most nights, they are fantastic. I have been a bit concerned about the transition defense lately. You saw it again tonight in the first half. The Heat getting out and running. The Heat saw that too. And this again gets back to scouting, right? This gets back to scouting, coaching, game planning. I think Miami had a better game plan than anybody else has had against the Rockets this season. Run for a team that does not run at all. Miami. Like they're one of the slowest playing teams in the league. They're getting out and going and going and going. Why? Because recently the Rockets have been without certain guys. You got Dylan Brooks coming back tonight from an injury. Who knows how great he feels, whatever it is. They don't have Tari Eason, who plays a big role in that. And lately they've been giving up points in transition for a team that's second best in the league in giving up transition points this season. That's where you tip your cap to coaching and scouting on the other side. They exposed a ton of the Rockets' weaknesses tonight. And they were able to do that. And that's why they're able to win the basketball game. Because their team, like I mentioned earlier, is not some world beater team. They're not that great. They're not better than the Rockets. Pound for pound, they're not better than the Rockets. But when you have the experience, a little bit more experience than they do, and then all those other factors that I mentioned, and you expose what the other team does poorly, you're going to go out there and win. And honestly, Miami should feel like, feels like they just knew it was coming all night long. Stinks, man. This is probably the most down. Is this the most down you felt about the Rockets? We'll close with our final thoughts about that next during the Locked On Rockets postcast. All right, our final couple of minutes here on the Rockets postcast. I'm Michael Connor, your host. Appreciate you guys for stopping by, joining us live here tonight. If you're not live, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Come back, watch it later live when we are live next time. If you're new to the channel, always hit the subscribe button. As I mentioned at the top of the show, go ahead and do us a favor. And in 2025, make it a goal for yourself to share this channel with 5 people that you know and tell them to subscribe. Let's grow even further in 2025. This channel started in April of 2024. and it is blown up way faster than I ever expected it to. And I appreciate all you guys for making that possible. I appreciate you guys watching these videos. And then also for those of you that haven't subscribed, finding it and then hitting the subscribe button because we're always here. Rockets, as I mentioned a minute ago, they're going to, going to have to bounce back quickly from this. They're going to play again. They get a couple nights off. It's a little weird that they don't play New Year's Eve. Usually the Rockets have a New Year's Eve game at home. They always do a big thing. They have a New Year's Day game. We'll see how hungover everybody is for that one. I will guarantee you this. This host right here will have zero hangover because this host just doesn't like to drink. So I'll be good to go Wednesday for the game against the Dallas Mavericks. It's an important one. I talked about it a little while ago. This has been a very disappointing start to this 5-game stretch at home. And you're going to play a Dallas team that is without their best player in Luka. The Rockets had one of their better wins of the season back on Halloween up there in Dallas. It's a game you need. It's a game you want. And I kind of feel like it's a game you have to have based on recent performance. Better figure it out. And hopefully you have all your guys. I think Amen Thompson's going to get suspended from this. I really do. It'll be interesting to see if anybody else gets any kind of suspension from this. It'll be interesting. Here's a quote real quick from Ime Udoka after the game tonight on why he was kicked out. He said, if what I said gets me kicked out, I'd be kicked out every game. And a lot of people are pointing that out. The official in the game tonight does not have the world's greatest reputation. I forget his name off the top of my head. I saw somebody posting about it, how he has multiple games like this season where he kind of makes things worse. And he kind of made one worse. Made it worse with the Fred VanVleet thing, Ime Udoka on the Amen Thompson, Tyler Hero scuffle. They were in each other's faces, bumping chests a little bit. One guy is stronger than the other. Yeah. I think that's the nicest way to put it. I think if you put Amen Thompson and Tyler Hero in the ring together, we all know who's walking out of there with a clean face and who's not. It would be Amen Thompson. All right. Hopefully there's not going to be another loss to talk about next time. Hopefully there's not going to be any more fights to talk about as well, even though you're going to be playing a Dallas Mavericks team that's just coming off a fight against the Phoenix Suns on Christmas. Hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday night. We will talk again after the Rockets and Mavs Wednesday night on the Locked On Rockets